Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and today's peek behind the amber curtain, we're going to be talking to Matthew Disley. We're going to be covering Matthew's role, his story so far, and his hopes for his impact at Sutton. I'm going to try not to make this sound like a job interview like I did with Jack, but as I reviewed the questions, I realised they're all very similar questions, just slightly tweaked. I'm clearly not that good. Obviously, love hearing the engagement and seeing all the retweets and shares and likes. It is really, really good. It's even funnier when it's birthdays for players that I post after midnight. That's really silly. That was in the morning, but happy birthday, Jeremy. We're going to dive right in. And Matthew, I know you've been busy. And I know you're on leave soon, and we've kind of pushed this right to the limit. So thank you so much for fitting me in. And I know you're at home, so you're not technically at work. So I guess you can say whatever you want because you're not actually at work. But can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background before joining Sutton United?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I'm Matthew. My journey actually started in the fitness and health industry. Not so much these days, but back in the day, I was a fitness duty manager. I was a personal trainer, and then I had that horrific injury of tearing your ACL. So then I sort of migrated into the back office. It was a bit more sales. It was a bit more marketing. Got into that side of things. I've always done like a degree or some sort of level of studies whilst I've been working. I'm big about improving myself and bettering myself. So I did a degree in business and sports management, and then I got a big break and was a Go Ape commercial site manager. So, the zip lines, the zip wires, it's crossings up in the trees, all that sort of stuff. There's a few in London as well. There's quite a few across the country. And that role was sort of, you ran it like its own profit and loss account. So I was in charge of daily operations, health and safety, and all that sort of stuff, as well as the marketing and the commercial. And at the end, I realised I enjoyed the marketing and the commercial side of things more, and less so hanging in a harness for hours on end doing maintenance and bits and bobs like that.
I can see why.
Bit painful, particularly for males. It was very painful. And then I got the opportunity to go to Grimsby Town as their commercial manager. And then that was sort of my first step into football. Grimsby being local, my hometown club. Was there for maybe a season and a half in total. And then obviously I saw a job on LinkedIn for Sutton, started to think about it, discussed it with the family because, as you can tell from my accent, I am not from here, I am from Grimsby. Discussed how it would potentially work and how it would look, came down and had a look, obviously attended a game, which was ironically when they played Grimsby Town. Which was a little awkward, but hey. And then I was sold on the project, and helping to push the club forward, and helping to professionalise the club a little bit.
Yeah, that's a word that's been used a lot throughout all of these. So, but going to be honest, it wasn't looking great for us at the tail end of the last season. I know we kept picking up that glimmer of hope, but yourself and Jack joined similar-ish time. What kind of made you go, do you know what? Yes, Sutton, it does look like they're probably going to be relegated. I know you and I spoke, and you kind of said, I took on the job on the expectation we'd be relegated. If we didn't, great. But what kind of made you go, actually, I will step down from EFL to a club heading out?
Yeah, so I joined 1st of April. I think Jack was the 1st of May. And yeah, at the 1st of April, even the month prior, you know, we were bottom, you know, rock bottom, no chance in hell of okay, we had the easier run, didn't we? But it was extremely, extremely unlikely that we were going to get out of it. And again, it was that project of the amount of change I could make to the club. You know, the amount of change I could bring and to help. And obviously, you know, Grimsby Town and Sutton United, very different clubs, very different fan base, very different fan demographic. You know, very different. And I thought, you know, there's a lot of value I can add here. And it's almost the status in the league didn't bother me too much. I thought the area that we're in, you know, South London, Surrey, there's a lot more money in that area than there was in Grimsby. You know, Grimsby's a real low economic sort of area. So I felt like despite the relegation, there was still going to be some big changes and some money to be had.
Excellent. So can you, because obviously we see you around, we hear the term commercial director or manager, I can't remember which. It doesn't mean a lot to a lot of us. So can you kind of explain what your role is? Because it's not, and I've said, I can't remember who I said this to. I think it was Ben. It's not about taking more money out of the fans that are through the doors every week, pocket all the time. It's about finding other sources. So can you just kind of explain your role as what you do?
Yeah, so you know, I wrote some notes in preparation, and I've wrote money. Here's your title. Yeah, so you're right. It's basically it's my job to bring money into the football club, and that is a really broad statement because you're right. It's not the fan, it's not ticketing, but it's almost everything else. So it varies from advertising boards, match day sponsors, ball sponsors, the pouring rights. You know, when we were talking about the bar and beer, front of shirt, back of shorts, the men's team, the women's team, the academies team, hospitality, business club. It's a real wide spectrum of what I can do and the different products or the different elements to it. But ultimately, it's about bringing in money from businesses in those, you know, in those different areas I've just sort of said.
And so how do you, obviously I don't want your trade secrets, but how do you kind of just reach out? Is it literally word of mouth, or do you just cold call people? How do you kind of start the conversation?
Well, obviously the first thing on the agenda was renewals. So who's currently front of shirt, who's currently back of shirt, you know, and to go through the easy ticks, let's say, and speak to them and get them on board. I say easy, it's not that easy, but renewals is the first port of call for me when I came in, and yeah, then ultimately it's outreach. You know, we need to, as a football club, we need to broaden our horizons, because otherwise you're fishing in the same small pond of sponsors. And you know, the way the world's going, we're in a bit of a recession. There was the election. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Everyone's looking after their own pocket, their own money. So it's difficult, and you need to try and especially where we are in the different businesses that have national headquarters around us and stuff. It's down to try and broaden the horizons and reach out to these other companies that have maybe never dealt with us before. And it's trying to sell the football club as a product, not just to, you know, someone who's a fan who owns a business. It's to use it as a product and sell it to other businesses.
Yeah, because I mean, one thing that might be strange about Sutton is most of the fans know the money situation is always tight. It's straight away we like. So whenever, like, I found was funny is the whole, when we're in the league, the Papa John's thing. the amount of people I spoke to who knew exactly what the prize money was for each round and all the rest. Like, how do you get this information? But is that helpful to you for knowing that the fans know what the story is, or does it not make any real odds to you? I don't mean that in a harsh way. That sounded a lot harsher than I meant it to mean. I don't mean it in that harsh way.
No, I know what you mean. It does when it comes to negotiations, and sponsors, like current sponsors, they could potentially use that information to leverage a better deal, or they know things are tight. It doesn't necessarily come into play, I don't think, when you're talking about other businesses that aren't involved and they're coming on board for the first time. So yeah, that does have an impact, I would say.
Yeah. So I know one of your immediate goals was to fix the microphones in the. How'd that go?
To be honest, there was many other things that were bigger and more important to look at, so that got completely left by the wayside.
Yeah. I did laugh when you said that. I was like, "Yeah, we've been doing this for about 10 years. I don't think anyone's going to fix it." But what, apart from these quick wins and everything, what these are things you have to do. What did Matthew have as I want this as an immediate goal for myself to know that I've had this impact, not just ticking over? What was your kind of immediate target?
Generally speaking, it's to shore things up a bit and be a bit more professional. You know, when we're talking like contracts and stuff, and I say contracts written on the back of a fag packet, that's not quite as bad as it was. You know, the guys that were looking after it before me did a better job than that, but certain elements, it's just having an email trail and getting some contracts in place for the bigger ticket items. You know, so then everybody knows it protects the sponsor, it protects the club, for, you know, who knows, whatever could happen. You know, like I say, we're in a recession, pandemic, whatever could happen, and it was to try and have a process, keep track of things, and put contracts in place for some of those bigger ticket items.
Yeah, because there'll be. Go on.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, and price increases. That's probably the big one, really, because again, small pool of sponsors, done it year in, year out for however many years, they get a very good deal. And it was time to not change that, but to incrementally start to increase it a little bit to the market value of where I believe it should be, and obviously as the club as a whole, where the club believes it should be. Yeah,
because there would have been a whole host of things that when we got that promotion, we just had to put in place really quickly. So there perhaps wasn't this long-term thinking. It was just job done, job done, job done. So I'm guessing a lot of those will be coming up now. But what about your sort of medium to long-term plans? So obviously you've come in, you're excited with the project. It's sort of the start. Where do you see this going in the next few years?
So nationals, like I say, I've already sort of alluded to it, national companies that have a presence, you know, across the country, across the region, and digital. You know, you've probably noticed we've got a new website up and running now. You know, and there's going to be some changes to it as we go along with the relationship with Telstra. So digital, LED, everyone talks about LED, everyone goes to other clubs and sees LED. It's a lot trickier to actually put into place than you think, but 5 years time, I'd say, you know, the revenue and you know, the next 5 years goes swimmingly to plan and lots of money comes in. You know, I'd love to see LED boards. How realistic that is, we don't know. We'll take it, you know, a step at a time. You know, you can get second-hand ones, and ultimately you need to be able to have people knocking on the door before you've even got the LED. Yeah. So then, you know, that drive, you know, is that customer drive driving the demand for that product? Because we could get it, we could put it in place, and then I'm crying myself to sleep every night because I can't sell, 10 seconds of it or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned one of the questions I was going to do a bit later was local or national. Because I know I very excitedly saw that video of Steve saying sponsorship available, and I was straight on you going, let me do it, because I was obviously thinking of myself going, that gets my name out in front of a lot of people. I did then think afterwards, do I even really want that for Sutton United to be the manager sponsored by the podcast rather than being sponsored by a big national company? So is it that you're looking for these bigger, massive organisations, or will you still be looking at local businesses, or is it a hybrid?
It's a hybrid. It very much is a hybrid. Obviously, it all comes down to the cost, doesn't it? You know, a player sponsor is 500 quid plus VAT. So to a bigger national company, it doesn't.
Yeah.
The money's not an issue, but it's less of an appeal. You know, player sponsors are local companies. You know, people like yourself that really love a player, really love the manager, and want to show their support for it. When we're talking nationals, it's a different ballgame. They want to see their ROI, their return on investment. They want to see numbers. They want to see digital insights and so on and so forth. So it's a hybrid, but something like that will get included in a package. Perhaps each sort of big sponsor will get a package, and potentially a player sponsor is included in there.
Excellent. So are there, again, don't give away secrets, but again, is there anything coming up that you're excited to be introduced, that you're able to introduce to us? I know you've worked hard on the brochure. I keep wanting to have a little sneak peek, and I'm like, I can't really offer anything. I just wanted to be nosy. Is there anything kind of that's coming up that you're excited about?
So me and Jack went to visit Chessington it was maybe 2 weeks ago now. Obviously they're only 20 minutes from Sutton, and they very much fit in with our demographic. You know, we want to be family friendly. We want to hit that sort of demographic, and they're obviously they follow the Merlin Entertainments and stuff. But we're talking to Chessington. You might have seen my LinkedIn post. It was literally the best meeting I have ever had. I got to feed giraffes. I sound like such a child saying that, but it was the best meeting I've ever had. So hopefully there's something there between the two of us. I've put across a proposal to them literally 5 minutes before I came on with you. Worked hard on a brochure specifically designed for them. So hopefully that comes off. I don't know. I've got no idea. But I've already put it on my LinkedIn. It's not like it's a big secret or anything.
No. Well, I just, you and Jack went off to Chessington for a meeting to feed giraffes. Yeah, okay. So giraffes are obviously linked to us as well because we've got Jenny. So do you have any, again, we're not stealing it, but any wild, insane ideas that you're like, no one's going to go for that? And then you look around at Sutton going, actually, do you know what? They probably would go for that because we're an odd bunch.
Not really, no. To be honest, it's just taking, when I've been to away games, what I did at Grimsby, it's just I'm not reinventing the wheel. Commercial is very boring. It's very, money, transaction, package of benefits. It's not too glamorous. But I just want to take what other clubs have done, what Grimsby have done, and translate it. All the clubs are doing similar things. Occasionally there's the odd thing that pops up that might be something a little bit different, but to be honest, I can't think of an example. But yeah, so it's just kind of replicate what other clubs have done and, move us forward to do, there's a setting of the standards across football clubs in general. Even in the National League, lots of clubs are doing same things. So yeah, I want to replicate that for Sutton.
Excellent. So obviously we've been this quiet little cozy club for 120 odd years. And everyone knows everyone can go and say hello to whoever they like to in the bar. People are going to be hearing this professionalism word. They've already got rid of my curver. I don't know if you're aware of Sulk about my curver, but the how's it not been brought up? But how do we bring everyone along? Because obviously change is change, and as soon as someone mentions change, people are going to going to balk at it. So how do we kind of make sure everyone's hand is held and as we go along, or is it a case of we've just got to crack on and do a lot of this?
It's a tough one. I mean, I've got a marketing degree as well. I don't want to speak for Jack. Obviously, that's his realm. But speaking about change, it's a change curve. You know, you'll have seen it in business. There's a change curve, and everybody moves along that change curve at different speeds. Some of us move along it quite quick. Some of us have an initial ooh, and then get on board and move along with it. And then everyone moves along at a different pace, which is fine. That's who we are as human beings. It's about trying to be as transparent as possible as a football club, and try to involve people where possible. So if I'm thinking about doing something, I'm not just going to bulldoze my way in. I'm going to speak to the different departments it may affect. So I'll speak to Jack and the marketing team. I want to do this. I want to promise this in the package. Are you guys okay with it? I guess it's different when we're talking about like fans and taking fans along the journey. Commercial, it's like I sort of said, it's a tricky one because there's no direct link as such. But as a club, as long as we're transparent, trying to involve people as much as possible, like the fans Q&A was a perfect example of that. It's tricky, you know. We're not a football club stacked with resource. You know, we've not got lots of bodies on the ground doing lots of jobs and helping everybody out. So we are trying to prioritise and do what we can because we've got a season that starts in a couple of weeks. But we know where we want to be. We are making those changes. You'll be able to see those changes, and it's just sort of a bear with us. We will get there. We will shore things up. Me and Jack coming in, you know, at the end of the season helps, but then the off season is a very short period of time, and we can't do too much. We trying to do too much change all at the same time is just going to end badly for everybody. But it's trying to be transparent, take everybody on that journey with us, involve people where we can, and then hopefully they can see the benefits of what we're trying to, you know, the rewards we're trying to reap.
Excellent. And that leads me on to, as we say, yours is a slightly different role to me turning up and watching a game. Obviously, you want us to do well because that helps you, makes your job easier. But how can fans kind of help, support, get involved with the commercial side?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if anybody knows they work for businesses, speak to your employers, see if they're interested in sponsoring. I've got a full range of statistics and analysis and stuff that can get put in front of somebody. Come to the games, drink the beer. That's. I'm sure nobody's going to find me on that one.
It depends on what new beer you're getting, but go on.
Well, yeah, you know, speak to your employers. You know, some fans do sponsor, like the player sponsors. They do it as individuals. They don't do it as a business. So that always helps because, you know, it's a couple £100 here and there, and it all goes into the pot, and it all adds up in the end. You know, nothing is too small. You're all helping and doing your bit. Buy a program. I listened to Lyle's the other day. So yeah, buy a program, drink the beer, buy a burger, and then if there is a few £100 lying around from your employer or whoever, you know, play a sponsor, advertising board, all things like that. All probably the lower stuff, unless you work for a big corporation, and then get me in front of them and we'll do the business.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this is more Jack's side, but I'm guessing the more people engage and everything with the social media, I know Jack has pleased a few people, but the more people engage and get with social media, it also helps you, doesn't it? Because you're able to then go, look, we're getting this many eyes on it.
Exactly. And when we're talking about those national businesses and those businesses or those marketing bodies that have got their heads screwed on, they want to see the numbers. They don't just want to go, yeah, that's fine, we'll support Sutton United. They want to see, right, how many people is my brand reaching? So the work that Jack does absolutely helps massively, because that data goes directly into my brochures that I'm then putting in front of businesses.
Excellent. So we asked about any marketing campaigns, but that's not really where you are. I don't know why I did that. But I did have some questions sent in for you. Okay. Are there going to be any more acting roles?
Yeah, I'm sure there will be.
Were any of them filmed at Chessington?
No, there were not.
And there's one, this one's from me. For some bizarre reason, for someone who runs little as I do, and it's very little, I end up talking about it an awful lot. So I know you're planning and prepping for a run. How's it going? And just tell us what it's for and everything as well.
Yeah. So I originally did the same half marathon a couple of years ago. I injured my shoulder, couldn't go to the gym, couldn't lift weights, couldn't play ice hockey, which is another hobby of mine. So I got into running, and that was fine. Really enjoyed it. Did this half a marathon, gorgeous sunshine, loved it. Then I signed up for it straight away. And then life changed a little bit. I've had a baby and so on and so forth, put on a couple of stone, tried to train for it, tweaked my knee. Long story short, I had to defer it. And I'm now struggling to get the training in, I'll be honest. It's not going how I want it to. I tried to go for a run this morning, struggled, got shin splints. But what I am going to do it. I am going to get my backside into gear, because one of the first things I did in the first couple of weeks of being at Sutton United was go to visit the Royal Marsden with a couple of the lads, and I was a mess. I genuinely was a mess. I've got step kids, I've got my own child, and I held it together while I was in the hospital, walking around with the players. But then I got to my car, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I cried. I couldn't hack it. And even now, talking about it, I can feel myself welling up. It was so heartbreaking, but so heartwarming at the same time to see these young children suffering with cancer, and the joy in their eyes and stuff. Seeing the lads turn up and getting to speak to them, even if they didn't know them, they were just. Kids are just full of life, and I thought, right, well, I want to try and raise some money for them. And obviously I'd already signed up to do the half marathon, so I thought there's a nice little link there. So I'm raising money for them. I think I'm only at the £100 mark. I've got a long way to go to meet my target, but yeah, it was a cause I wanted to help out with.
Good. I'm glad you kept it together, because those kids, they can be brutal. If you'd cried on that ward, they would have gone for you, and you would have been doing more than crying. They're brutal. It's amazing work, and it's something that I know we in Sutton take for granted, because the Marsden has always been there, and you don't really think about it. I work for the council, and even I kind of keep seeing things about the Marsden, this great big hub, and I'm like, why are we making such a fuss? Oh yeah, I remember, it's the world-class facility in our backyard. So I'm glad we're doing a lot more link-ups with that as well, and I believe there's more planned for the season as well, so that's excellent. We've raced through this. You've done a lot of preparation. For someone who said, I'm not sure I'm going to get anything out of this, you've answered all my questions really quickly. But is there a message you'd like to send to the Sutton fans? I know we've spoken about the change and how we can help, but is there any sort of message that you'd want to send to the Sutton fans? Come and say hello or anything like that?
Yeah, well, again, I'd reiterate, bear with us. We're making change. There's a lot to do. It's all going to be for the better. Everyone has their own opinion on what's for the better and what's not, but ultimately it's about getting money, bringing money into the football club, which is the harsh reality. As fans, you directly impact the revenue almost of the football club. We don't want to lose fans. We want to take you all on the journey with us. We want to add to the fans. We want to, friends, families, we want you to bring anybody, drag them along, put them in handcuffs and bring them to Gander Green Lane, because it's an experience. One of the things that, again, I talk about the project and what brought me to Sutton, the people, being there on a game day, seeing everybody, speaking to people like yourselves about fixing microphones. It's about the people, and it's dragged me in, and that's it. I'm here now. I'm stuck, and but when I speak to other fans and stuff, it's the same. Once Sutton's got you, it doesn't let go, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Which is why we the volunteers seem to be forever, and it's like I'm not volunteering for nothing because that's a life sentence. But yeah, no, he's just. I keep saying things like this, but it's a strange bunch. But we all love each other's strangeness, and it's like, hey, you go be strange, I'll be strange, and we're all happy together. Matthew, thank you very much. I know you weren't overly comfortable, but you did brilliantly. We're going to wrap up the episode. As always, we appreciate the ear attention. That's a marketing and commercial thing. I should copyright ear attention. Follow, like, share this episode on socials. There's a load of behind the amber curtain ones I've done already, so keep up with them. And share and like on your preferred platforms. Leave us a review. These are all over the place at the moment, so I'll be back very soon with another one. And as always, thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Thank you to Matthew for your time. I know there's one more day, but have a great holiday. Enjoy the kids. And thank you to the listeners. And hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Sutton Podcast. Take care, and we'll catch up soon. United! 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 United!